everyone, and thank you for joining us this Mother's Day week. Paula Faris here, one of the podcasters in the Access More family. I have the Paula Faris Faith and Calling podcast, joined by Kelly Minter, who has the Cultivate podcast, which launched recently. She's in Nashville. I'm here in Michigan, in Jackson, Michigan, at my mother's home alongside my sister, Diane Collins. And we are here visiting our mother. She had a stroke, but there's good news, everyone. Thank you for your prayers. She is recovering, and we just want to say thank you very much for your prayers. Collective prayer works. So we are sitting right now in her sunroom as she's in the hospital recovering, because we believe that God's not done with her yet. But what we want to do in this conversation over the next 20 minutes or so is just really encourage you. If you are a mother who has suffered a loss, or you're in a season of mourning, or you've lost a mother, or you've lost a grandmother, or if you are a woman and have never been able to birth your own children, or whatever your season may be, we know that Mother's Day can trigger certain emotions for people. It's not a happy occasion for everyone. So we just wanted to have a real conversation about some of the feelings and emotions that are going into this day from a couple of different perspectives. Now, I have 3 kids. I struggled with infertility for a while. My sister has, Diane, say hi. Hi. Diane has one child through foster care. She wasn't able to birth her own children. Her child grew in her heart, not her tummy. And Kelly Minter is single with no children. So we just wanted to have a time to really reflect on the emotions going into this day and show some different perspectives. So Kelly, I guess I just want to open up with you, your experience. What are some of the emotions that you're reconciling right now? Again, you're single and you do not have any children, but I'm sure you're a spiritual mother to so many.
Yeah, well, I love that you just use the word reconcile, because that is something that just kind of happens. You do find yourself in those places of, how do I reconcile this? And I typically don't talk a ton about my age, but I think it's important here because I'm 45, and I share that because it's kind of done for me. Like that, it would be highly unlikely. I'd have to meet somebody like 2 years ago, you know what I mean? And get married right away, and to have a biological child. And that kind of hit me in the last couple of years, where there was no longer that, well, maybe, or I could meet some amazing man and get married and to get to that place where you're like, that's not going to happen. There is that place of reconciliation. And at the same time, I think something that I really take to heart is, especially when we go to the Old Testament, we see so many women who struggled with infertility. And in that time and in that culture, in that ancient Israel culture, having children was everything. It was your place in society. It was your social standing. And
right. That's a good
see
point.
So often God looking upon someone like Rachel, even someone like Leah, who could have children, but was not loved. And someone like Hannah, and where God intervened in some really amazing ways. But even when he doesn't intervene the way that we want, you're exactly right. You said earlier, just being a spiritual mother. And I know that is sometimes like, people are like, oh, here we go. Okay, they're going to go the spiritual mom route and whatever, or, but really I get to do missions all over the world. I'm in the Amazon jungle every year. I'm in Eastern European country of Moldova, working with vulnerable children often. And then I've got 6 nieces and nephews that are, 3 of them live right down the road, and they're very integral to my life. And I have a very special role with them that I've always taken it seriously, but I'm really, even from a spiritual and investment and legacy perspective, realizing that this is who God has given me. And I would not be able to have the place that I have internationally and here if I had a family of my own. So there's more to say about that. I don't want to eat up our time, but that's just kind of where I'm at.
Do you struggle when people say you're a spiritual mother? Because, you mentioned, oh, are we going to go there again? Do you still feel like you want to adopt, or are you content? Do you feel like this is where God's placed you to be able to go to the ends of the earth and to be a mother on the mission field to so many that maybe someone like I wouldn't have the capacity to do. Do you feel like there's something else, or are you content with where God has placed you right now and the circumstances of your life?
No, that's a great question. I am really fulfilled. That doesn't mean that there aren't yearnings. That doesn't mean that I am not keenly aware of what I don't have. I think that I think we do it a disservice if we're like, oh, but this is so great. And no, there's loss. I mean, there's loss here. There's a void here, but holding that tension, no, it doesn't offend me in the least. I love the idea of being a place for people. I love being the fun aunt. I love that. I just saw my niece that she's 4 and she's like, what did you bring me? And because I always have a treat in my pocket for her, and I want her parents can't do that, but I will give her chocolate every single time I see her, and so, no, I'm very content, and the Lord has just lavished me with these relationships, but we do have to lean into them. And I think that there was a time that I was like, I was looking over here, and there is this place of surrender where we go, okay, Lord, if this is what you have, then I'm going to lean into it and I'm going to be faithful.
Yeah, I think you just brought up a really important distinction, that you can be content, but you can still have those feelings of loss. Mm-hmm. They're not mutually exclusive. Those two feelings can be reconciled together. So Diane, are you going to talk about your age? Because I'm 45, Kelly's 45. She looks great, by the way. She's my older sister.
You guys both look amazing.
She's the inverse. So if I'm 45, she is.
No way.
I know. Honestly.
I don't
know way.
Loud.
She definitely took all the good genes.
Diane, your hair is like, come on.
That's COVID and not going to get my hair.
No, but I mean, it's like, it's looking good. It's looking really good. It's youthful hair. I'm envious of that.
I think a lot of women can find refuge and comfort in Diane's story. And I don't want to give it all away. But you got remarried. So you get remarried and you want to start a family. You got remarried later in life, wanted to have a family, had a miscarriage, but weren't able to get pregnant again. And then you decided to adopt through foster care. So I don't want to steal your thunder. I want you to tell your story.
I was 38 when I got married to my husband, and he was going through a residency program, which was very stressful, and it wasn't time to have children, but my clock was ticking. And by the time I was 40, we were like, okay, we're going to try. And I did get pregnant, and I miscarried, and it was the loss of way more than a baby. It was the loss of a dream and this life I had been planning and that we had been planning together, and we both mourned it together. And we had thought about adoption in the past as just this, really nice, heroic idea, doing something that God would want people to do for orphans in society, but we never really looked at it personally for us. And when it really came down to the point of my age and that we were starting to go through all these infertility treatments and it wasn't working. Actually, what really happened to me, I was on my way to one of the infertility treatments I was supposed to receive. And I distinctly remember God sort of, not in an audible voice, but just really strong in my heart telling me, this is not how you're going to have your baby, Diane. Mm-hmm. This is not how I'm going to give you a child. Mm-hmm. And I went to the doctor's office anyway. And I wasn't surprised then when it didn't take, but we really seriously needed to start considering adoption. And because we went into the foster care way of doing that, because we really wanted to help a child that was in our community, that was already here. It ended up being a very redemptive thing in the end, because we needed a family and she needed a family.
Mm.
And God just put us together. She was 22 months old when she came to us, and it was another year and a half before the adoption was final.
And it happened quickly for you.
Yes, it did. I got a call at like 10-ish in the morning. Luckily, I'd just gotten out of the shower, so I got the call because they tried to call someone else. But we had not fully been licensed as foster care parents. We'd gone through all the training, but we were waiting for our license to come through. And they said,
Wow.
"We have a little girl that needs a home today."
Wow.
So
Wow.
I called my husband at work. We got on a conference call. Long story short, I think it was by 2:00, I was at Bethany Christian Services holding this little girl who was sleeping over my shoulder, and took her home with me, and it's never been the same. You're gonna make me,
I'm gonna cry. And to see how God has orchestrated this, because she looks just like, I think she looks just like your husband.
She does. She looks like Drew.
Just like Drew.
Mm-hmm.
And she is the same age as my daughter.
Nothing like me.
No, our daughter.
That's okay.
Our daughters are both 13, and they are best friends. They call themselves sissons, like, because neither of them have a sister. I have 2 boys. So sisters and cousins is sissons. And just to see how God has orchestrated this beautiful patchwork is it's so incredible and incomprehensible to think, you know, our God is such a big God, but he cares about the little things, everything down to every single detail. What has Drew said about her?
Well,
in terms of rough, like, he can't imagine.
Yeah, he has said it so much better than I can say it, actually, that he can't imagine loving a daughter that we had birthed any more than he loves her. And he's said that from the very beginning. And right now, I don't even really think about being an adoptive parent anymore. I just think about, you know, I'm a mom and she's my daughter. It just doesn't even really occur to me that much that it didn't happen in the natural way. You know?
I want you to talk in a minute, not just yet, but I want you to talk about how it was difficult to bond with her, because I think if you fostered a child to adopt, or if you've decided to go down that road, or even I've had friends who have had a hard time bonding, or they had the child and they suffered postpartum depression, and they were like, what's wrong with me? Why do I not want to be with my child? I want to touch on that in a second, but Kelly, have there been moments where, and I think it's okay to be angry with God. I think it's okay to say, God, what are you doing? Why did you choose this path for me? How have you been able to have those conversations with God? What have they sounded like? How have you worked your way through them? And maybe I should just ask you in general, have you been angry with God? Because this is the path that he chose for you.
Yeah. Yes, I think for sure. I mean, there have definitely been those times, and angry, that's kind of like my go-to emotion, which I'm not thrilled about, but that's kind of the thing that, like,
right here, sister,
I'm like, and so I've definitely had those places with the Lord. Recently, though, I've been more I've had more tears, and I'm thankful for that. I don't know that it matters one way or the other, but recently, just studying Hannah's life, even looking at, I love Sarah and Abraham. And when Abraham's like, come on, we already have Ishmael, Lord, just bless it. Just put your hand of blessing over that. Like, let's just go with what we've got. And he's like, I have something different for you. And just kind of working through those texts, and just their tears of, I think, grief, but also tears of, at this point in my life, of joy and gratitude of, like, Lord, you have my story. And I think that's the thing. Just even Diane, listening to your story, I was thinking, oh, okay, I wonder if you had to go back 13 or 14 years ago, would you say, oh, I want to have a child naturally? Or, and it's like, was so obvious in your story that you're so thrilled that the Lord did it this way.
Yep.
And while there might still be loss in that, I think for me, I'm just really coming to grips with the relationships that I do have, and the investment that I am able to make, and how sweet it is. And so there's tears of sadness and tears of like, wow, Lord, you have me. And my life is not wasted. And I can still be nurturing and all the things that motherhood brings. There's still ways to do that and to be that and to be in a special thing. So I'm glad you asked that. Yeah, I've definitely had my moments for sure.
And I think too, my story, my husband and I were together for, let me see, we were together since 1996. We had our first child in 2007. So we struggled with infertility for a while, but out of nowhere, we were able to get, like, I still don't know how we got pregnant with Caroline. Cause I think we know how it happened. Like we were married 7 years. We'd been together, 11 by the time she was born. And everyone around me was having children, and I had a miscarriage, had Caroline, and then we went on to have 2 more children. So I have 3 children. I have a girl and I have 2 boys, but I've also had 3 more miscarriages since my youngest was born. I'm 45 and I wanted to have 1 more. I'm the youngest of 4. And so I always thought I've got to have 4 kids, right? I'm missing out on myself.
There you go.
I've had 3 miscarriages in the last 3 years. And so I've had 4 total. And I just want, my message to anyone that's suffered a miscarriage is that, it's normal and it's not your fault. And it's okay not, to not be okay, but also don't beat yourself up. It's nothing that you did. And so for me, I've just been praying and seeing the life that my sister has lived. Maybe that 4th child isn't supposed to come from my tummy. Maybe that 4th child is supposed to come through foster care or through adoption, which I'm totally open to. Because I think it's such a beautiful illustration of God's love for us, adoption in general. So thank you for opening our heart to that. And, I'm just praying that the Lord leads and guides our family as we navigate what's next. Because I feel like our family is complete, but I don't think we're finished in some capacity. Can you imagine adding 1 more kid to our crazy family? I mean,
I think you should do it.
It's chaotic, but my husband and I thrive in chaos. Like I love it.
Yeah, we don't so much. We're complete with a family of 3.
So, Diane, how have you been able to really work through those emotions of anger and grief, not being able to grow a baby in your belly? And I know that was tough for you.
I will say that something you touched on, everybody around you was getting pregnant and having children. And that's really hard to see everyone around you, or for me, it was everyone that was 10 years younger than me around me was doing that. And I thought I had really missed out. And when I had my miscarriage, I actually had an appointment at the doctor's office to double check and see what was going on. It was I forgot what it's called, but it's basically an empty egg sac. So there was no baby that was growing, even though there was a conception. And I was waiting to get that final ultrasound to confirm that. And there was a teenager who was pregnant who just was like, not concerned about anything in the world. And I was like, it's not fair.
Yeah.
Like I wanted it, and it was probably a mistake for her. But you know what? God has everybody's stories. So I don't know her story, but God was going to take me down a story a path that was going to make me appreciate his love for me in a very individual and personal way. And he picked out a daughter for us that is just perfect for us,
100%.
Yeah.
Like I tell my kids, I'm like, Diane had a say. I didn't have any choice.
Just what you got.
So, I mean, yes. But what do you, can you tell us a little bit about that time? If there are women out there who have gone through the adoptive process, or whether they've birthed their own, but just the feelings of conflict. Is there something wrong with me because I'm not bonding with my child?
Well, I think partially because I was older, and it's not necessarily because a woman's older, she might go through this. But for me, I was pretty set in my ways. I didn't realize that my ability to run 11 errands in one day was like, like
a superpower.
I thought it was normal,
Yeah.
but not for a mom. You can get through maybe 2 if you're lucky before
Yeah.
a breakdown and nap is needed. And it took me a really long time to adjust to that. I felt very much like my schedule had been taken over by an alien and that my life was not my own anymore. That was part of the conflict. And the other part was that here's this little girl who comes into my home, and before her adoption's even final, she does this to me and says, "Mommy, I love you."
Oh.
And she didn't know me for maybe a couple of days. And it took me.
She was already calling you mommy.
She was already calling me that. And I, it took me a lot longer than that, a good year or so before. I mean, I told her I loved her, but until I really felt that affection and that connection and that bond, and that's where I thought something was wrong with me. And I thought, well, maybe it's because I didn't get her as an infant, or maybe it's because she didn't come out of my tummy. No, maybe it was just because me. Maybe it was just because I had things going on in my life and I just wasn't expecting it. I wasn't prepared.
Sure.
But you know what? God put people in my life, other moms who had adopted through foster care or infant or international or whatever. I met someone in a Bible study I was in, and she invited me to come and join her with these other women that got together once a week and let their kids play together. And that was life-saving for me. So at the same time, when you're seeing other people around you going through this, having a family or whatever, if you can bond with other women who are in your situation, and at the time I met this woman in my Bible study, she was going through infertility as well, and she was getting ready to adopt. So we were going through something similar in a way, or we had been in something similar. So I guess what I'm trying to say is attach yourself to people who are going through something similar to what you're going through. And that is one of the most encouraging things ever, to not feel alone. And
it creates an instant community.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. And Kelly, for you, has there been anything in your self-care routine, or is there any advice that you would like to give anyone listening right now that might be struggling with mourning or loss, or any of the emotions or any of the situations or experiences that we've touched on today? What advice would you give them?
That's so good. Well, I think, first of all, I would say, like, listening to Diane's story of adoption through foster care, and even Paula, you all thinking about maybe adopting even on top of the children that you already have. And one thing that was going through my head is, like, just for people not to feel guilty if you don't feel like that's what you need to do. And because I love the idea of adoption. I mean, I love it. And I have walked around this house saying, Lord, if I'm missing something, if this is what you want me to do, by all means, like, you just got to tell me, like, you have just
my heart.
I'm there. I would so do it. But I have not felt that from the Lord. And as a result, I'm, like I said, really investing in my nieces and nephews, really investing in children in other countries, and also in my local church, and just allowing kids to come over and having a place. So I just want to encourage you, like, if you're like, well, I can't have my own children and I don't feel like I can adopt as a single woman, or there is still such a place of ministry for you, such a place of being able to invest. And I would also say, have those conversations with the Lord. Have your anger, all of us, we've talked about anger, grief, tears, comparison. Let the Lord have that. And I've got my Bible sitting here next to me. It just opened up to 1 Samuel 1 and 2, like, get into Hannah's story, or Sarah, or Rachel, or Leah, and just see the way that God meets these women in different ways. And not every woman is going to miraculously be able to have children, right? But there is the supernatural blessing of Almighty God putting a call on your life, and you walking in His kingdom in that way. And that, when you taste that, it is so fulfilling. And so I just want you to hear, like, you're not missing, like those who are listening, that you're not missing out. You're not missing it. Just keep following Jesus. And I really do believe that he will give you a meaningful path.
That's great, Kelly. And Diane, what advice would you give to anyone that's watching this and listening? How can you encourage them and speak life into them?
I would just say something that really helped me during many different difficult times in my life, not just miscarriage and infertility, was I'm going to probably misquote this, but it's Psalm 27 that talks about the Lord is my light and my salvation. And at the very end, it says, I am confident of this, that I will see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. Know that if we believe in him and we follow him, that he's going to take us to heaven, to a better place. But what we don't think about is that we can have confidence that he has good things for us here.
Yes.
And that he knows us so personally that he will find good things for us to do and to be showered with, that are just for us right here.
Yeah, that's really good.
In every season.
And I just want to leave you all with a word of encouragement too, just to echo Kelly and Diane's sentiments, that everyone's story is unique and God owns your story, and you have a unique call on your life, and stay in your lane. Don't compare yourself to other people. There's only one you. There's only one you that has a unique fingerprint, earprint, DNA code, and God has something special planned for you. But just get out of that lane of comparison. It's so easy to get sucked into that. There's only one you. There's only one story of yours, and God's writing that story. So thank you all for watching this today. And I hope you were encouraged. We'd love to hear what you think about it in the comments below, and feel free to share it, because again, Mother's Day isn't just, rainbows and hearts and pink balloons for everybody. It can force a lot of women into, a season of reconciling and mourning and lament. And we want to honor and recognize that motherhood doesn't also look like one thing for every woman. I believe you can be a dog mom, which Diane is. You can be a step mom, you can be a biological mom, you can be an adoptive mom, you can be a teen mom, a spiritual mom, a mentor, a mom who mentors others. So motherhood isn't just one thing. And I just want to encourage you, where you are, God has you exactly where he wants. So thanks for watching. Kelly, do you want to say goodbye?
Thank you guys so much. It was so fun to be with everybody.
Yeah, it was great to be with you. And you bring gifts for your niece. Maybe when we see one another, you can bring me some treats. Okay.
There we go. I've got my Cadbury eggs like ready to go for you. So
all right. God bless you, Kelly, and God bless everybody for watching. We really appreciate it. Happy Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Month. Okay. You are special and unique, and there's only one you.